Okay, here we are. Tower of Joy, Eddard 10. This is a very short chapter. It's probably the most reread chapter of all of Ice and Fire, at least this beginning part. People looking for clues. Obviously, a lot of it doesn't make sense. It's a fever dream, um, uh, and we're not sure how much George actually had figured things out, or if things were mystery boxed. But but yeah, here it is. Eddard 10. Uh, he dreamt an old dream of three knights in white cloaks and a tower long fallen, and Lyanna in her bed of blood. Um, the Now this he dreamt an old dream. This is comes back with Cersei dreaming an old dream and with Varamir Sixskins dreaming an old dream. Um, and this bed of blood is kind of the big clue that we're dealing with a baby here, probably Jon Snow. Um, this is the birthing bed is the bed of blood. So if you once you get past the tiny bit of old timiness, rather than saying a birthing bed, but a bed of blood versus a just dying in a bed, uh, it's pretty. It's all pretty clear. I mean, we're dealing with Jon Snow doesn't know who his mom is, and here we have Lyanna birthing a mystery baby. It's not too hard to put it together here. And how the tower is falls. We'll see. In the dream, his friends rode with him as they had in life. Proud Martin Cassell, and we're getting each of these names that are important. Jory's father. Okay. Faithful Theo Wool. Later, the Wolves, obviously become part of A Dance with Dragons. Ethan Glover, who had been Brandon's squire. A lot of people, in A Clash of Kings, there's a very clumsy scene where Catelyn, where someone brings up Ethan Glover, and it's very clumsy. And you're like, why is Ethan Glover being brought up? Because he gets arrested with Brandon, and he gets put in prison, and then he's released just to go out here and fight. And so there's some questions about, like, was Ethan Glover a spy? It's hard to say. It might just be that Ethan Glover is there to pass the information to Ned so that Ned is fully informed on stuff. But and that's it. But was Ethan Glover brought up, and did he witness Brandon's trial and things like that? It might only be that George just purposely had Ethan Glover there to pass information to Ned so that Ned knows stuff. But there is this very odd, kind of clumsy return of Ethan Glover. Anyway, Mark Risewell, soft of speech and gentle of heart. This gets brought in with Lady Dustin later. No, I'm sorry. Lord Dustin gets brought in later with Lady Dustin. Mark Risewell, soft of speech and gentle of heart. The Risewells, they have there's many Risewells fighting amongst themselves in A Dance with Dragons. It's kind of confusing. And the Crannogmen, Howland Reed. Ned had known their faces as well as he knew his own, but the years leach at a man's memories. Even those he has vowed never to forget. In the dreams, they were only shadows, gray wraiths on horses made of mist. They were 7 facing 3, in the dream as it had been in life. That these were no ordinary 3, they waited before the round tower, the red mountains of Dorne at their backs, their white cloaks billowing in the wind. And these were no shadows, their faces burned clear even now. Sir Arthur Dane, the Sword of the Morning, had a sad smile on his lips. The hilt of his great sword Dawn poked up over his right shoulder. Sir Oswald Went was on one knee, sharpening his blade with a whetstone. Across his white enameled helm, the black bat of his house spread its wings. Between them stood fierce Sir Old Gerald Hightower, the White Bull, Lord Commander of the King's Guard. A lot of analysis is done on why these particular characters were there. I mean, Went having to do with Harrenhal, but why Hightower? We still don't really know anything about the modern House of Hightower. Um, it may just be that he was coming up with titles, trying to make it poetic. Because doesn't it sound very poetic to say Arthur Dayne's Sword of the Morning? But, it's this, we did hear about Ashara and stuff like that. But Oswald went with his bat and wolf. I looked for you on the trident, Ned said to them. We were not there, Sir Gerald answered. Woe to the usurper if we had been, said Sir Oswell. Well, probably not. 3 fighters? When King's Landing fell, Sir Jaime slew your king with the golden sword, and I wondered where you were. Far away, Sir Gerald said, or Aerys would yet sit the Iron Throne, and your false brother would burn in 7 hells. This ridiculous arrogance, right? I came down to Storm's End to lift the siege, Ned told them, and the lords Tyrell and Redwyne dipped their banners, and all the knights bent the knee to pledge his fealty. I was certain you would be among them. Our knees do not bend easily, said Sir Arthur Dayne. And this gets into the some people have theories about Arthur Dayne being some wildling later on in the story. Is he Qhorin Halfhand? Is he Mance Rayder? And this idea that I don't kneel, my knees don't bend coming back. These crazy theories. Sir Willem Darry fled to Dragonstone with your queen and Prince Viserys. I thought you might have sailed with them, bringing in Daenerys here. Sir Willem is a good man and true, said Sir Oswell. But not of the Kingsguard, Sir Gerald pointed out. The Kingsguard does not flee. Then or now, said Sir Arthur. He donned his helm. We swore a vow, explained old Sir Gerald. A lot of people have taken this that they have to protect Jon Snow as the heir because their vow as the Kingsguard. But of course, Viserys is actually heir at this point. And I think this is even mentioned in the World of Ice and Fire and things like that. So, and then in A Dance with Dragons, George kind of puts into the Barristan story that they can be dispatched to protect even girlfriends or lovers of royal family. So I understand this sounds so epic. We swore a vow, as if you're protecting royalty, but later we get quite a few retcons on this probably. Ned's wraith moved up beside him, with shadow swords in hand. They were 7 against 3. And now it begins, said Sir Arthur Dayne, the Sword of the Morning. He unsheathed Dawn and held it with both hands. The blade was pale as milk glass, alive with light. No, Ned said with sadness in his voice. Now it ends. As they came together in a rush of steel and shadow, he could hear Lyanna screaming, Eddard! As she called. A storm of rose petals blew across a blood-streaked sky, as blue as the eyes of death, bringing in our ideas of the others. Blue as the eyes of death. Lyanna screaming, Eddard. There's someone already yelling at Lord Eddard at him because he's asleep. So we were hearing this. Lord Eddard, Lyanna called again. I promise, she whispered. Leah, I promise. So calling back his promises. We've been hearing these promises to Sansa, him thinking about these broken promises. He promises something. Leah is, of course, the short version of her name. This comes from a song for Leah, where the character is Lyanna, Rob and Lyanna, Rob 2 B's, and Lyanna, shortened for Leah. The fans usually just call her Lyanna Stark instead of Leah. But yes, it's rather clear that she goes by Leah. Lord Eddard, a man echoed from the dark. Groaning, Eddard Stark opened his eyes. Moonlight streamed through the tall windows of the Tower of the Hand. The moonlight streaming on him, this is fairly common in the story. The idea is perhaps that there's some sort of people messing with his head, sending him dreams. Hoster Tully has moonlight on him. Jaime has moonlight on him. Jaime specifically has moonlight on him when he has a dream. So the idea is that Ned is getting sent a vision probably for some reason. We don't know why or what purpose. I actually think, having read this chapter a million times and thought about it, Ned's decision is to stay in King's Landing after this, and it's rather strange because if it were about his promise and Jon Snow, he should be wanting to leave immediately. It's strange that this dream would cause him to do the opposite of his desires, which is why I kind of jumped to the idea that he's trying to do something with Daenerys, still trying to convince the king to spare her, that Daenerys is part of the promise. Lord Eddard, a shadow stood out of the bed. How long? The sheets were tangled, his legs splinted and plastered. A dull throb of pain shot up his side. 6 days and 7 nights. The voice was Van Pool's. The steward held a cup to Ned's lips. Drink, my lord. This is George and his milk of the poppy, as if people don't need to, I guess this is the idea that he's just crapping the bed and pissing all over the place, and they're constantly changing sheets, and they're constantly somehow feeding him water, or they somehow have IVs or something. It's just it's outrageous that he would be asleep for 6 days and 7 nights. He'd be riddled with bed sores and bruises. He would just be in a pile of shit and piss. He'd be massively dehydrated. It's ridiculous. What? Only water. Maester Pycelle said you would be thirsty. Yeah. Yeah, he'd be dead. But yes, he'd be thirsty. Ned drank, his lips were parched and cracked. The water tasted sweet as honey. The king left orders, Van Pool told him when the cup was empty. He would speak with you, my lord. On the morrow, Ned said, when I'm stronger. He cannot face Robert now. The dream had left him weak as a kitten. Kittens are weak? My lord, Poole said, he commanded us to send you to him the moment you opened your eyes. The steward busied himself lighting a bedside candle. Ned cursed softly. Robert was never known for his patience. Tell him I'm too weak to come to him. If he wishes to speak with me, I should be pleased to receive him here. I hope you wake him from a sound sleep, and summon, he was about to say Jory when he remembered, summon the captain of my guard. Alan stepped into the bedchamber a few moments after the steward had taken his leave. My lord? Poole tells me it has been 6 days. I must know how things stand. The Kingslayer has fled the city. Alan told him. The talk is he's ridden back to Casterly Rock to join his father. The story of how Lady Catelyn took the imp is on every lip. I've put on extra guards, if it please you. It does, Ned assured him. My daughters? They've been with you every day, my lord. Sansa prays quietly, but Arya, he hesitated. She has not said a word since they brought you back. She's a fierce little thing, my lord. I've never seen such anger in a girl. Whatever happens, Ned said, I want my daughters kept safe. I fear this is only the beginning. No harm will come to them, Lord Eddard. Alan said, I stake my life on that. Jory and the others. I gave them over to the Silent Sisters to send north to Winterfell. Jory would want to lie beside his grandfather. It would have to be his grandfather, for Jory's father was buried far to the south. Martin Cassell had perished with the rest. I guess this idea that he's getting buried up at their keep, which is only like a day's ride. Wait. No, I'm confusing them with Serwyn. Sorry. House Cassell is just a minor house, right? Where do they have a They're just a minor house. We don't. I guess we don't know if they have their own like area. Do they have their own keep? No, I guess not. They just live at Winterfell. I guess they just live at Winterfell. I mean, they have 10 Winterfell, 10 Starks as their sigil. I guess he's buried somewhere. I guess they just live at Winterfell this time. This minor house. So maybe I guess they're buried at Winterfell too, somewhere. I don't know. Probably not in the crypts, but in some other lich yard. Ned had pulled. Martin Cassell had perished with the rest. Ned had pulled down the tower afterward and used its bloody stones to build 8 cairns upon the ridge. So there is some question of how do you pull down the tower with if only Ned and Howland Reed survived. In Ned 1 they do say they found him. So there's at least one other person at the tower if they found him. And he used the bloody stones to build 8 cairns on the ridge. Some people say, okay, if you go to the top of a tower and you just start pushing stones off and you just do it like that you can disable a tower by yourself. I think it would probably take days to dismantle a tower. So I don't know how they're pulling down the tower. How many men he had. Like they said, it's only 7. Like, well, how is that possible? You're not bringing your squires. You're not bringing resources, rations. Like it's just 7 of you off in the mountains. 7 high lords kicking it. It's all very odd. It was said that Rhaegar had named that place the Tower of Joy, but for Ned, it was a bitter memory. They'd been 7 against 3, yet only 2 had lived to ride away. Right? Only 2 had lived to ride away. I mean, some people say, okay, 2 had lived to ride away in that battle of the 7 against 3. So there might be other people there. It's just that, there's servants and stuff, but only the people, they didn't battle. They were, with whatever baggage train. So maybe in the fight of 7 against 3, only 2 had lived to ride away is probably the best interpretation you can have. And then other people would help in pulling down the tower, and the they would be fulfilled with Howland Reed. Eddard Stark himself in the little crannock met Howland Reed. He did not think it omened well that he should dream that dream again after so many years. Of course, how does he keep all of these servants silent? You've done well, Alan, Ned was saying when Van Poole returned. The steward bowed low. His grace is without, my lord, and the queen is with him, and the queen with him. Ned pushed himself higher, wincing as his leg trembled with pain. He had not expected Cersei to come. It did not bode well as that she had. Send them in and leave us. What we have to say should not go beyond these walls. Poole withdrew quietly. Robert had taken time to dress. He wore a black velvet doublet, and the crowned stag of Baratheon worked up, with the crowned stag of Baratheon worked up the breast in golden thread, and a golden mantle with a cloak of black and gold squares. A flagon of wine was in his hand, his face already flushed from drink. Cersei Lannister entered behind him, a jeweled tiara in her hair. Your grace, Ned said. Your pardons, I cannot rise. No matter, the king said gruffly. Some wine from the arbor, a good vintage. A small cup. My head is still heavy from the milk of the poppy. A man in your place should count himself fortunate that his head is still on his shoulders, the queen declared. Quiet, woman, snapped Robert. He brought Ned a cup of wine. Does the leg still pain you? Some, Ned said. His head was swimming, but it would not do to admit to weakness in front of the queen. Pycelle swears it will heal clean. Robert frowned. I take it you know what Catelyn has done. I do. Ned took a small swallow of wine. My lady wife is blameless, your grace. All she did, she did at my command. So yeah, it's I think it's rather clear that George had written the small council scene without much thought into the arrest, and then had to place like an added paragraph at the end, because it just doesn't make sense that Ned is so reckless in that chapter when he knows this is coming, and he needs to have a good story, and he needs to be Hand. He needs to have that power. Instead, he is not Hand for a moment, and gets rolled by Jaime Lannister. I'm not pleased, Ned, Robert grumbled. But what right do you dare lay hands on my blood? Cersei demanded. Who do you think you are? The hand of the king, Ned told her with icy courtesy, charged by your own lord husband to keep the king's peace and enforce the king's justice. You were the hand, Cersei began, but now, you see. That's the relevant thing. Why would you quit his hand at this moment when you need that protection of Catelyn? Silence, the king roared. You asked him a question and he answered it. Cersei subsided cold with anger, and Robb turned back to Ned. Keep the king's peace, you say. Is this how you keep my peace, Ned? 7 men are dead. 8, the queen corrected. Traeger died this morning of the blow Lord Stark gave him. Abductions on the King's Road and drunken slaughters in my streets, the king said. I will not have it, Ned. Catelyn had good reason for taking the imp. I said I will not have it. To hell with her reasons. You will command her to release the dwarf at once, and you will make your peace with Jaime. It's very, very, very silly of the king, but okay. 3 of my men were butchered before my eyes because Jaime Lannister wished to chasten me. Am I to forget that? My brother was not the cause of this quarrel, Cersei told the king. Lord Stark was returning drunk from a brothel. His men attacked Jaime and his guards, even as his wife attacked Tyrion on the King's Road. You know me better than that, Robert, Ned said. Ask Lord Baelish if you doubt me. He was there. I've talked to Littlefinger, Robert said. He claims he rode off to bring the gold cloaks before fighting began, but admits you were returning from some whorehouse. Some whorehouse? Damn your eyes, Robert. I went there to have a look at your daughter. Her mother has named her Bara. She looks like the first girl you fathered when you were boys together in the Vale. He watched the queen as she spoke. Her face was a mask, still and pale, betraying nothing. Robert flushed. Bara, he grumbled. Is that supposed to please me? Damn the girl. I thought she had more sense. Now, this is quite funny when you think about it. Robert is about to go off hunting, and right in here, Ned gives Cersei motive to kill Robert. She looks like the first girl you fathered. So now she's thinking, he's signaling to Cersei that I know that your kids are bastards, and that the one in the Vale is proof as well. And so now Cersei has to quickly come up with her like murder scheme, which is essentially like getting the strong line and sending it off with Lancel and getting Lancel on board like that fucking fast plan, which it's the dumbest plan because it has such little chance of working, which actually makes me think, when Varys comes up with the supposed Cersei plan that she wanted to kill Robert in the melee, it's kind of similar, in the sense that like, even if you hire a guy to kill Robert in the melee, like anything can happen in the melee. Like the guy that's supposed to kill Robert might get hit in the side of the head and be out anyway. So like, it's a dumb plan as well. This is a really, really dumb plan, and I'm surprised it works. Like Getting him drunk on strong wine, like he might fall asleep. They might not run into a boar. He might kill the boar anyway because he's the idea that he'd get drunk and get killed by a boar is ridiculous. Damn the girl. Bara, he grumbled. Is that supposed to please me? Damn the girl. I thought she had more sense. She cannot be more than 15 and a whore, and you thought she had sense? I think he's is the idea that he thought she would use tea or have some other system for not getting pregnant. Moon tea. When does moon tea enter the story? Because moon tea obviously. Moon tea doesn't even come into the story until Storm of Swords. Yeah. And the tansy tea only comes in a Storm of Swords. Huh. I wonder what he's saying that he thought he'd have sense. Ned said incredulous. His leg was beginning to pain him sorely. It was hard to keep his temper. The fool child is in love with you, Robert. The king glanced at Cersei. This is no fit subject for the queen's ears. Her grace will have no liking for anything I have to say, Ned replied. I'm told the Kingslayer has fled the city. Give me leave to bring him back to justice. The king swirled the wine in his cup, brooding. He took a swallow. No, he said. I want no more of this. Jimmy slew 3 of your men, and you 5 of his. Now it ends. Is that your notion of justice? Ned flared. If so, I'm pleased that I'm no longer your hand. The queen looked at her husband. If any man has dared speak to a Targaryen as he has spoken to you, do you take me for Aerys? Robert interrupted. I took you for a king. Jaime and Tyrion are your brothers. By all the laws of marriage and bonds we share, the Starks have driven off the one and seized the other. This man dishonors you with every breath he takes, and yet you stand there meekly, asking if his leg pains him, and would he like some wine? Robert's face was dark with anger. How many times must I tell you to hold your tongue, woman? Cersei's face was a study in contempt. What a jape the gods have made of us two, she said. By all rights, you ought to be in skirts and me in mail. Purple with rage, the king lashed out. A vicious backhand blow to the side of the head. She stumbled against the table and fell hard. Yet Cersei Lannister did not cry out. Her slender fingers brushed her cheek where the pale, smooth skin was already reddening. On the morrow, the bruise would cover half her face. I shall wear this as a badge of honor, she announced. Wear it in silence, or I'll honor you again, Robert vowed. Clever Robert. He shouted for a guard. Sir Meryn Trant stepped into the room, tall and somber in his white armor. The queen is tired. See her to her bedchamber. The knight helped Cersei to her feet and let her out without a word. Robert reached for the flagon and refilled the cup. You see what she does to me, Ned? The king seated himself, cradling his wine cup. This is the kind of sympathy and mercy that Ned has for Cersei. My loving wife, the mother of my children. Wah, wah, wah. The rage was gone from him now. In his eyes, Ned saw something sad and scared. I should not have hit her. That was not kingly. He stared down at his hands as if he did not quite know what they were. I was always strong. No one could stand before me. No one. How do you fight someone when you cannot hit them? Confused, the king shook his head. Rhaegar won, damn him. I killed him, Ned. I drove the spike right through the black armor into his black heart, and he died at my feet. They made up songs about it, yet somehow he still won. He has Lyanna now, and I have her. The king drained his cup. So sad. Still reliving 15 years ago. Your Grace, Ned Stark said. We must talk. Talk about what? Robert pressed his fingertips against his temple. I'm sick unto death of talk. On the morrow, I'm going to Kingswood to hunt. Whatever you have to say can wait until I return. If the gods are good, I shall not be here on your return. You commanded me to return to Winterfell, remember? Robert stood up, grasping one of the bedposts to steady himself. The gods are seldom good, Ned. Here, this is yours. He pulled the heavy silver hand clasped from a pocket in the lining of his cloak and tossed it on the bed. Like it or not, you are my hand, damn you, and I forbid you to leave. Ned picked up the silver clasp. He was given no choice, it seemed. His leg throbbed, and he felt helpless as a child. The Targaryen girl. The king groaned. 7 hells, don't start with her again. That's done. I'll hear no more of it. Why would you want me as your hand if you refuse to listen to my counsel? Why? Robert laughed. Why not? Someone has to rule this damnable kingdom. Put on the badge, Ned. It suits you. And if you ever throw it in my face again, I swear to you, I'll pin the damn thing on Jaime Lannister. So yeah, a really great, interesting conversation. Very poetic stuff at the beginning. But yeah, like going through this, like I completely understand analyzing the text, why you could come to an R plus L equals D thinking, he's ready to go back to Winterfell, and then kind of just reluctantly is like, fine, I'll stay. His dream drives him to think he was arguing about Dany. He gets hurt, has the dream, and then he's immediately talking about Dany again. Where's the D? As I say, where's the D in R plus L equals J? How does Daenerys fit into all of this? And some people are like, well, it's because, trying to kill Jon is as an innocent Targaryen is the same as trying to kill Dany as an innocent Targaryen or something, like that it's somehow he's thinking about Dany because he's thinking about Jon rather than just it leading him to think about Dany. Like the Tower of Joy makes him think about Jon, which makes him think about Dany, rather than the Tower of Joy makes him think about Dany. Like, how does Dany fit into the Tower of Joy? Why is Ned so wrapped up in the Dany story and so like insistent on it, so yeah. And who knows if George R. Martin had all the answers here. Like the story of R plus L equals J, as most fans sort of like thought about it, that, Jon is the true king and all of these sorts of things, and that he's going to save the world. I mean, that's not really George R. Martin's writing style. And in the show, we kind of saw, if those are the plot points, that's not what happens in the end. Like R plus L equals J is a hindrance to peace, not some great prophetic saving of the world, some sort of Harry Potter kind of thing. So yeah, there it is. Very short chapter, Eddard 10. But yeah, the conversation with Robert and getting into the character of Robert is really quite interesting. And it's amazing that, Cersei, after getting hit in the face and realizing that the jig is up because of the bastard, it's now revealed that the bastards have been found, that it's time to kill Robert. So she comes up with the dumbest plan to kill Robert. Get him drunk and he'll just die. Okay. All right. I guess that's how it works. And 6 days on Milk of the Poppy. Anyway, that's that. This is a fast one. Fast chapter. Anyway, we'll talk to you soon.